Hi everyone, my name is Natalie Dawson. Welcome to Leader Talk. This show is proudly brought to you by Brainiact. Each week we are meeting with incredible leaders from around the world to discuss all things leadership and business insights. Each person coming on this show has given up their valuable time for one very clear purpose: to give back to small and medium business owners. Many of us will agree that there are many commonalities between sport and business. The setting of goals, the work, the passion and dedication involved, and the celebration of success along the way. Today, my co-host, CEO of Pierlite, Arianto, and I are fortunate to chat to an Olympic gold medalist, Emilee Cherry. Emilee is a former Australian Rugby Union player representing Australia. She's here today to share her experiences in elite sport. Welcome to the show, Emilee.
Thanks for having me, Nat.
Hello, Emilee. How are you?
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm well, thank you.
Now, Emilee, we begin each of these shows with two fun questions that we ask our guests, and we have prepared yours. So the first one we'd like to ask you is, can you please tell us what your favourite food is?
Favourite food? This is a bit controversial because it's probably not like one particular food, but cereal, hands down. Any cereal and milk is kind of my favourite food. When I used to play and travel all around the world, I used to sometimes travel with my own milk and cereal in the bag just to make sure I could have that on tour.
Well, that's fantastic.
Any particular brand, Emilee? Any particular brand and type?
No, I've been criticised in the past for mixing cereals and having anything and everything. So at the moment, the flavour's oats and honey for breakfast or during the day. But now coming into summer, it might move to something not as warm.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And what about your dream holiday destination?
Dream holiday destination. I don't know if I can name a specific spot, but it'd have to be somewhere hot. I grew up in Roma in Queensland, and I love the heat and I love feeling hot and, being able to go for a swim. So somewhere with a beach, a pool and nice weather would be my ideal destination.
That is interesting. I came from Indonesia, and when I hear the word hot, I live in Melbourne, and everyone said to me, why do you hate hot weather? You came from Indonesia. And I said, that's why I moved to Melbourne.
Oh, that's good. Emilee, before we get into a bit of a chat, we're hoping you can tell us a bit about yourself.
So I grew up, as I said, in the regional town of Roma in southwest Queensland. My family, most of them still all live there. So I've got, great connection and great roots growing back up in there. And, I've really missed during this COVID period being able to go home and visit and see everyone out there. So I can't wait to kind of things open up and I'm able to go back and visit my family and the whole community there. Growing up in a small town, I think, you get used to facing adversities and, from the very beginning, I kind of got chucked in every sport possible. My family, my mum, my dad, my whole extended family, our family revolved around sport. Each week was sorting out where we were going for what sport at what time and how we could fit it all in. From the very beginning, mum used to say, we could hardly walk, but she would set me and my brother up on the side of the touch field with our food and would sit there, for an hour, 2 hours just watching them play. I think my lifestyle growing up, everything was revolved around sports, whether it was family, friends, just being outside and having fun. And I think that's where my love kind of came from. So I kind of grew up playing every sport and then went to boarding school in Toowoomba when I was in year 9. And that was kind of quite a defining part of my life. Then started to focus on specifically when I started making touch football representative teams. Started focusing more on that. Was still dabbling in all other sports for the school and rep stuff, but kind of loved playing touch footy, and then finished school and thought my life was going to be, I'd go to uni, I'd do a teaching degree, I'd finish, and then I'd go somewhere probably back out west and teach for the rest of my life. And I got a letter in the mail 1 year into uni saying, hey, there's this sport, rugby sevens, would you like to come give us a try? And my mum said, you'd be crazy not to jump at the opportunity. Had just been named in the Olympics. This camp was at the AIS, which, being a sport nut, I absolutely loved the AIS. So I jumped at any chance I could to go down and visit. And this was all paid for and free. So I jumped at it very quickly. And I think I debuted for the Australian Women's Rugby Sevens nearly 3 months after that. So I didn't know this sport existed. And then I found myself out in front of, 35, 40,000 stadium in Dubai and not really understanding the game, but kind of getting that kind of sink or swim. And luckily, I swam quite well and then established myself as, one of the players and the leaders in the group over the next kind of 10 years. And then now where we're at is I've just recently retired the start of the year. I've become a mother in the last 2.5 years as well, which is another big defining thing in my life. And I've got another one on the way. So that's where, leads me to now.
Wow.
Oh, that's fantastic. What an inspiring story. And, I did read up about yourself earlier this morning, and there were some references I've got here. You've been referred to as Australia's first Queen of Sevens. And then, they talk about your successful career. I've got here, Cherry scored a staggering 131 tries across her World Series career alone, including 1 hat trick in just 181 seconds, which is just incredible. And, you look at this and you think, that's incredible. That's amazing how Emilee's achieved this. But obviously, a lot has gone into achieving this. There's been, wonderful work ethics, determination, challenges along the way. Can you share that with us, just your work ethics and how you got to that?
Yeah, just a side note for that hat trick so quickly. We used to have a joke with our coach that, if you're ahead by 21 points or kind of more, it was sitting you in a good position going into the game. So after I got that hat trick and we were up 21-0, I think, against Brazil in Amsterdam it was, I kind of got to sub and come off. So that was a little bit of an incentive as well behind that. But, yeah, obviously all the hard work, one of my favourite sayings that I got brought up on was it's never going to be easy, it's going to be worth it. And, my mum always reiterated that, and to enjoy the journey along the way. And, it has been an incredible journey, and I'm so thankful, for the people that probably have stood beside me in all those hard times that, some of the sessions we've done, the hills, the pain, the amount of burpees I've done in my life is ridiculous. But yeah, as I said, it's all worth it in the end, and kind of chasing that crazy dream of an Olympic gold medal, and for that to come to fruition and look back and see our journey along the way, and probably not noticing it at the time either. It wasn't about that end goal. It was about each little step along the way and getting us to that next step of the journey, what it had to take for us to improve and us to get better. I guess for me, it was always about looking at those little wins and how I could improve each step along the way, and then ultimately it all coming together at the end.
Great. And can I just ask, Emilee, when it comes to training, so just you mentioned, how the burpees and, that in itself just sounds really painful. But, what is training like when you're training for something like Sevens Rugby? What's involved?
Rugby Sevens, I think if you ask anyone who's played it, will say it's probably one of the most brutal sports you can play. I think naively looking at it from the outside, you can look at it and say, okay, the games are only 14-minute long, 7-minute halves, and that itself kind of seems easy. But when you put it together with the intensity of the game, so we liken it to being, a 400-meter hurdle kind of training where it's that real pain, lactate threshold that you've got to push through, and then you add the skill set into it, and then you add, the team dynamics, and then the thinking under pressure, and all these, different components that come into rugby sevens makes it really difficult. And then it's not just one game a day. We play 2 days back to back, 3 games a day. And so it's an always up and down. And then that's a really tough part of it. If you were to play one sevens game off, might be perceived as easy, but our tournaments and what we're put through to make sure our body is ready to go up and down and to, you know, meet all our specific fitness components and physical components. It is a really tough and brutal sport. And I haven't played a sport it requires as much mental and physical toughness as sevens.
Emilee, can I just, you know, when we talk to you, even right now, right, there's a lot of success you carry. I mean, to start with, you are a gold Olympic medalist. So to start with, that alone is already show so much sacrifice and hard work to get there. But I'm sure when you are on the very top in that 10 years, when you are walking to the field, when 30,000 people clapping, people only see you as a finished excellence player. They do not see you when you are tears, sweat, hard work, in pain, injury. So you must have a very high resilient and adversity quotient. Like you must. So can you share with us the dark side when you are feeling alone? You know, when you thinking about everyone clapping, but you the one who have to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and do the burpees, for example, and when everyone watching you playing with the hamburgers and meat pies, but you can't eat things like that because you need to eat healthy food. Like how do you combat that? Because in business we are the same. Like people do not see what happened in the cooking room, I guess.
Yeah, it's a hard thing, I guess, to explain, but, you know, it's something very common you'll see against all really high performance, successful athletes is just thriving on those moments when you are pushed to your limit. It wasn't about beating anyone else. It was about beating my best. So, you know, I'd be out at Roma over kind of the Christmas. We usually have a few weeks off over Christmas and, you know, it's always 40 plus degrees every day. And every day I'd take myself out and I would make the session, we'd get given a session. I would at least double that session. They would say, you know, run 4 1K blocks at this time. I would want to do that and then have a rest. And then I'd want to do it again because I wanted to be better that next day. So yeah, I guess I've always had that innate ability to want to be better each day and want to be my best, and knowing I can just push myself to the absolute limit. And, you know, I'll wake up the next morning, I might be sore, but I'm still fit and healthy and I've still got a lovely family surrounded by me. And I'm better today because of what I did yesterday. So having that mentality, I think, from very early on, and I don't know, you know, it may have come when I was growing up in Roma by myself. I never got, you know, Brisbane was a training hub for touch and things like that. So they trained by, you know, 2 times a week and all together the Queensland team. And I would have to, you know, do that by myself. That I went out and we bought the beat test on a CD and we bought a recorder that with an extension cord leading out of the house. So I could do the beat test every afternoon after school because I wanted to beat the best. And, you know, the coach did have a scare factor and he said, if you don't get over 12, you're not in the team. And turned out I was the only one doing the beat test every day. And I think I was there was 2 of us that got over 12. And I was filthy that the rest stayed in the team. But I guess growing up, you know, having not so much individually, because I always had such a big kind of support network around me, but knowing in myself I wanted to beat my best every day.
That's great. And you seem very determined and like you said, you know, you want to be the best every day. Curious to know, is there a leader in the rugby world that you actually look up to? Someone that you admire?
I find this a really tricky question because I guess when I started playing rugby, there were only the kind of the males that you saw on the Wallabies, or, you know, if you followed NRL, you only saw those males at the pinnacle on TV, that you kind of didn't see anything else growing up. So I guess from that point of view, I never really had anyone to look up to in the rugby world. We had some really great groundbreaking athletes before us, you know, Cheryl Soon and the team that won the 2009 World Cup, to then kind of, they pushed for rugby sevens to then be in the Olympics. So definitely that team and Cheryl and everyone behind that, I looked up to as groundbreaking because they were the first to play the sport and they were the ones that really pushed it for that Olympic movement as well. So I guess that bunch of kind of ladies, but as, specific rugby players, I guess it was probably my teammates.
Wow.
We achieved some incredible things, and I saw some incredible athletes, and I thought, I think it's pretty cool when I had my daughter and I was able to take her in, and she was growing up around these people that I thought were the most incredible role models you could have, because I knew physically they were some of the best athletes in Australia, and I knew that they would always have my back, and I knew that they were great people as well. So I guess, I've always looked up to and admired all my teammates that I played through my career.
That's
Wow.
excellent.
Fantastic. I just love your energy, Emilee. And I would be lying to say, even watching from the screen, you are determined. Like your energy is like coming through from the screen. And I don't know whether this is the right question to ask or not, but we as a small business, we have bad times. How do you keep your energy like this? You are a mom now. You are due to have another one soon. But your energy, your determination, even answering this question. Do you have any recipe for all of us to make sure that we wake up in the morning ready to win?
That's a hard one, I guess. Just looking at the perspective of, I'm so thankful and grateful for what I've had, the experiences I've had in the past. I'm so thankful for that, and anything I can do to give back to the people who either helped me there or give back to the people who are now going through those experiences. I think I'm incredibly lucky that, as I said before, we didn't have a huge amount of mentors or people to look up to. So I guess, that winning Olympic gold medal team in 2016 really saw ourselves as those role models for the next young boys and young girls to come through. But yeah, as I said, I'm lucky. I've got a lovely family that support me through anything I do. And now I've kind of retired. I can take, the last 10 years, my mum has been the biggest supporter of me ever. And, my husband has sacrificed so much, and now I can take a step back and, hopefully, put their goals and their achievements before mine, because I guess when you are a professional athlete, it is taxing on everyone, as you said, like not just the training sessions, but coming home and, I wasn't able to walk. I was so sore, and I had, a 6-month-old that needed to be looked after. So I think I'm so grateful that I had that support that was, enabling me to chase my crazy and wild dreams. And now, I guess I can do anything I can do to give back to them or help others. I'm going to do.
Wow.
Considering you said that was a hard one to answer, that was a brilliant answer. So thank you. I just wanted to touch a little bit on the gender stereotypes. So wanting to know what it's actually been like breaking these gender stereotypes by playing in what's a wildly successful women's rugby team, considering it's such a male dominant. I mean, we see it with football, whether it's soccer, it's really changed. And as you mentioned, you didn't have many mentors, growing up. What was it actually like?
Yeah, it was, I think when you come from a sport, so coming from touch football and other sports where you pay to play, mum was driving me from Roma to Brisbane every weekend, which, is nearly a 12-hour, like 6 hours each way. She was doing that every weekend just to put me in that position. That when I got given this opportunity to play rugby sevens and just to have the thought of, I don't actually have to fork out $800 to go to this camp. I guess I was so grateful at any opportunity we got that we didn't really see, now reflecting back on it, the little things that the men got and we didn't. We were just so thankful to get that opportunity to get the next stepping block. And I guess that's what's gotten us to that professional level of today. So my first tour, as I said, was in Dubai, and we got there and we got sent to one of the most derelict hotels in Dubai. Is a very nice place and one of my favorite places in the world. And we got sent to this hotel that was nowhere near the ground, nowhere near the city, in the middle of nowhere. We got put in smokers' rooms, so everything smelled like smokes. There was people that got bed bugs. But we were just so stoked we were there. We did not care about anything like that. We got given the men's old uniform, so we were wearing men's sized uniforms and shorts and men's socks, which didn't fit us, that look ridiculous looking back now. But again, we didn't care. We were happy we were in Dubai and we were going to play on the World Series. We got to the grounds and we didn't have water bottles, and our manager had to run over to our Australian men's team to borrow water bottles for our games. And it's come such a long way since then. And I'm thankful too for the girls that played. As I said before us, they paid to play, and we were kind of the first ones that didn't have to pay. So we were incredibly grateful for that. And now so much has changed. As I said, we became professional athletes in 2013, I think it was. We moved to Sydney. We were given the opportunity to do this as our full-time job. And they said, if we wanted to win a gold medal, we've got to invest in you. We can't just expect you to rock up every few months and perform the best and win a gold medal after that. If we want you to perform and we want you to perform at the best, we need to invest in you and you need to invest in us. So you need to move to Sydney. I guess that was one huge move for us because, 2.5 years later, 3 years later, we won that gold medal. And that was purely because we all came together as a group under this one goal of going to the Olympics. And, we never spoke about winning gold either. It wasn't we were going to go win. It was we were going to go and be the best team, and we were going to go and be our best team. So we never spoke about, that's our gold medal, let's win a gold medal. It was all about the journey towards there. As I said, investing in us, we were just so thankful. And I guess they got out so much more of us because they were willing to invest. And it's amazing now to see, I guess, across the landscape of Australian women's sport, other sports coming on and investing in them, and just seeing the rise of, AFLW and now the A-leagues in Australia and everything else developing from that. I guess we were kind of at the forefront of this, nearly 7 years ago, being that first professional Australian team. And hockey was the other kind of semi-professional one at the moment, and netball. So, as I said, that investment, I'm glad that we could pay them back and they could say, yes, that investment worked. And, we spent every day trying to pay back that investment they had put in us.
Wow. Emilee, when I hear your story, one of the favorite books that I read is by Neil Danaher, When It's All Said and Done. And in chapter 2, I think, he said that life is not meant to be fair. Life is not meant to be fair. And even listening to you, most of your teammates live in Brisbane. You live in Roma, driving 6 hours when you are young. Even the thinking 6 hours in the car every weekend. And then you're talking about, you're going to Dubai where the men teams will be probably in the best hotel. You are in there's a lot of things that you said. It's just unfair. But yet the way you tell the story, Natalie and I listening to it is like you have the best life ever, because you are so grateful into all the process. Now, do you mind to share, have you ever thought in that journey that, geez, this is just unfair? And how do you get up and kill that thinking, if that even ever happened? Because you seems to be someone that by nature you are a very grateful person, it's your energy saying it all.
I guess, I honestly probably never had that thought that, as you said, I was always grateful, never thinking that I would get this opportunity. I love sport, and if you'd asked me, growing up at school, could I be a professional athlete? I would have said, I would have loved to, but I never thought that was an opportunity. I always wrote down a very generic answer because I couldn't ever imagine myself being a little girl and then becoming a professional athlete. And I guess I've always loved a challenge. Like most professional athletes, if you tell us we can't do something, we're going to go out of our way to do absolutely anything to prove to you that we can do it. And I think that was a huge part of my career, that I was, the two kind of really influential coaches I had through that period, kind of Tim Walsh and Scotty Bowen. And Scotty Bowen always used to say to us, I bet you can't do this, or I can do this, can you do that? And we're like, yeah, of course we can do that. We can do that better than you. Or so I guess that was one thing that I've always loved, is I've loved a challenge. I've loved proving people wrong.
Oh, that's great. And Emilee, you've mentioned quite a few times, investing in people and how important that was to your team. And Gus, I was going to ask you this because as the CEO of Pierlite, obviously, you would be investing in your people. Is that correct? Is that the same in business?
Yeah, I think so. I think I agree with Emilee. I think the success of organization or a team depend on how much we invest back to the development and growth of the people. And unfortunately, we can talk about strategy, we can talk about executions, we can talk about anything, we can talk about equipment, but unless we help the people, the team, and invest back in their growth, development, we will fail. And I think organization today start to be much better because we actually, many organizations now have a lot of access for training, development, within the industry, outside the industry. As I mentioned to Emilee before we start the live show, business tend to look at sports people. We love to relate anything to sports, right? We're not even a sports people, right? But yet there is a disconnect, because when we talk to elite sports people, the amount of hard work and discipline is far more than business. They wake up at 4-5 o'clock. They do the burpees, like Emilee, the world #1 burpees, apparently, right? So we don't do that. The higher you are in the organization, you don't do the training no more. Yet I'm sure when Emilee at the top of the game, you will actually do the training just as the juniors that come through, or probably more, but not in business. And that's the type of things we need to do. We need to invest in people. We need to make sure that they keep practicing. We need to make sure that whoever even leading the business still do the basic right.
Yeah, no, that's great. And even, Emilee, another thing you mentioned, you've said so many great things. You mentioned, growing up, you didn't have a lot of mentors. Just out of curiosity, are you now mentoring others? Now that you've been through it, you know what it's like. Are you mentoring?
I wouldn't say specifically, but, as I said, I've always found myself I've been grateful to be in a very privileged position now for the 10 years, and seeing that next group to kind of come through, that Australian Women's Rugby Sevens team, I guess, when I was a part of that group and being in that leadership group, being able to, nurture and develop those younger players was always a passion of mine. And now kind of dabbling and starting to, dabble in coaching as well. I love that aspect of it, and, working with a few development teams at the moment. And, as I said, I'm so grateful for the opportunities I got given, and there wasn't necessarily, lots of people out there guiding us or challenging us to do what it took to kind of improve and to make it to that elite level. So I guess, anything I can do to give back is, my kind of duty at the moment.
Fantastic. So I guess then, going on in business, we're usually told to focus on individual strengths. So I wanted to see, how true is this actually in elite sports, where, we focus on someone's strength rather than, I guess, developing a weakness? It's very common in the business world. Is this true also in... Yeah,
I think that's probably something, I guess, high performance sport sometimes misses the opposite way of that. So they focus too much on the weaknesses and forget about strengthening the strengths. And I guess, a bit of backstory to that Olympic gold winning team. There was, out of the 12, 11 hadn't played rugby 5 years prior to that. And you could probably say the 11 out of the 12 had no idea what rugby sevens even was 5 years prior to that. So our coach kind of had this idea that, rather than this is our model and I need to find players that fit into this model, he had the idea of, I'm going to find these amazing athletes with attributes that can transfer into the sport, and I'm going to change the game model, and we're going to change the game to work to their strengths. And, we always used to speak about that you had to be in sevens, you had to be a jack of all trade and a master of few. So We all had to know, simple things, how to pass. We all had to be really fit, and we all knew how to tackle. But then you had these offshoots from a kind of our model that were specific to each player and each player's strength. So I think that was a really important part on us, that we weren't kind of confined to a box of saying this is what a sevens player needs to look like. We kind of melded that and created that to our own strengths, and we obviously worked ridiculously hard on our weaknesses as well. But I think that's a really important thing that sometimes I think professional athletes forget, is to work on your strengths. And we used to, strengthen our strengths. So, that's your point of difference. And that's why, you're either such a good athlete or you're such a good player, is because of those strengths and minimizing those weaknesses.
I'm a very big believer in that concept, Emilee. I say, one of the best quote that I always like is from Albert Einstein. Do not judge a fish for its ability to fly. So in business in particular, we tend to feel that if you are in a particular industry, that you need to actually just keep getting people from the same industry because that's the best we can get. Learning from what you said before, 5 years prior, 11 out of the 12 don't even know what's rugby, but the great coach, focused on the strength. It's just incredible risk taking on that. And I must say, the coach must put a lot of investment that you talk about to the team to.
Oh, I think we're having a technical.
When.
Sorry, Gus, you cut out just the last bit.
It's incredible. Okay. Yeah. So I'm just saying that to be able to arrive at that high winning position when 11 out of the 12 don't even know what's rugby 5 years prior required a lot of investment.
Yeah, and I think, as I said before, like they obviously invested in us, but us investing too. So we worked really hard on creating that culture. As I said, we had some of Australia's best athletes in there, but, obviously to teach them the knowledge and teach them the game was, a master stroke by our coach and everyone involved. And we learned along the way. And as I said, we changed the game, that women's sevens, how it was played along the way as well. But we had this incredible culture where everyone just bought into everything we used to do. And that was kind of what underpinned our success at the end of the day, was our culture and wanting to do the best for each other, because we were just so invested, I guess, with each other as well. And we worked really hard on that culture. As I said, we all came from different backgrounds. We all had not much knowledge of the sport, but it doesn't take much, I guess, to start breaking down barriers between, female athletes. And we created this really great environment where we were all there. We were all set to the same standards. We all held each other accountable. Our cultural piece for that Olympic campaign was the letters RAW, so ROAR. So we had R was, sorry about the language, but it was about rough bitches. So we were going to be ruthless. We were going to be the roughest. We were going to be the most dominant, both on and off the field. We weren't going to let anything pass us. And then O was about the Olympic dream, so being able to perform and be the best team at the Olympics. A stood for accountability, so we were all accountable for our actions and others' actions as well. And then R was about respect, so about respecting ourselves, respecting our teammates, respecting officials, coaches, everything that came under that, and respecting our role in the community as well. And that cultural piece we built along the way was, our absolute centerpiece to the success.
Wow.
Isn't that great? And even, Gus, we can even talk, relate that business ways. We don't have an acronym such as RAW, but we have our internal values, and how important they are in the culture of a business. And like you said, Emilee, anyone listening out there right now could say, I would love Emilee working in whether it's a kebab shop or whatever it is, Gus. But you really do have this, you can see the determination, the positivity, the gratitude that you have. And that kind of lends me to the next kind of thing we wanted to discuss, which is about teamwork. So teamwork is obviously significant in elite sport. What lessons do you think business owners can actually take from teamwork at this level? Because we work in teams, but once it comes to teamwork out there on the field, it's, I think, next level.
I think, I just touched on it before, and it all comes back to that cultural piece and, wanting the best for someone else, whether, you're sacrificing for yourself or, their best also helps your best as well. That was always a big thing that, if someone else was doing your best and they're doing their PB, like I wanted to beat my PB as well and wanted to be my best. So I guess that teamwork coming down, onto the field, it was hours breaking down barriers and creating, funny little pieces along the way. We used to do, lots of singing and dancing and writing poems and acting and lots of things that probably got us out of our comfort zone a little bit, being professional athletes. But as I said, it really broke down barriers and really got us investing in each other. That we weren't just a team when we turned up to training. We weren't just a team when we walked on the field. We were a team both on it and off it. And I think that started from that cultural piece and living those standards, both at training, but living those standards away from training as well, really helped us kind of invest in becoming the best team we could. And understanding your role was another huge factor in that. Our coach was always really great at, we had a game model and everyone understood their role in that. And sometimes, most of the time you were never going to be the centerpiece of that it was all this little underworking and understanding that your role, it may help yourself, but it's going to help someone else. And in the long run, it's going to help the team. And that's our end goal, is to help the team. So I guess understanding what my role and being really comfortable with my role in the team was always really important as well. That, I knew I was, someone that was never going to talk heaps. And even though I was in the leadership group, believe it or not, I don't love talking, to people all the time. And I think, knowing that I was this kind of tactical person behind the scene that could, make decisions or see things and really contemplate things and really think through things. Like I knew that was my role kind of off the field. And then on the field, I knew that I was one of the main game callers, and I knew that I had to organise this person and this person and know their strengths and know their weaknesses. So I guess, playing my role within that team and understanding that and understanding others' roles as well, so I could help them or I could not inhibit them to be successful in their role to help the team, was a really another important factor.
When I hear what you said before, maybe Natalie, this is the time we bring the kebab shop. So we always said that we are working in the kebab shop. Around this time, we tend to bring the kebab shop to Leader Talk. Just like a sports team, there is the one that will be kicking the goal, and the one that kicking the goal will be featured on Channel 7 or Channel 9 or whatever channels, right? But what you said, everyone have a role. In my business as a kebab owner, I'm the one who cook the kebab, so I get all the recognition. Natalie is in the counter, getting the orders. No one congratulate her, but the reality is, if Natalie not doing her job, the kebab shop closed, right? So how do you look after each other, though? Because the reality is, human being come with its own ego, its own hunger. In every team, there always be the one that will be the mascot. And yet there is other, like what you said, there's other people that required to make the game and the team works. As a team, how do you look after each other? What's your message to our kebab shop, so Natalie don't feel like she's just there to to serve the customer while I'm looking like I'm the makers of the kebab? Like, I mean, what's your message? What do you do within the team to make sure that everyone will look after?
Yeah, it's hard because I guess we were probably quite lucky going into that Olympic campaign that I think we had 22 contracted girls, and I say the 12 that won kind of the gold medal, but everyone was a huge part of that, and we wouldn't have been the team and players we were without that whole wider squad, and the people who'd come in and out of sessions, and they had made so many sacrifices, whether there were injuries and they had to watch us win, knowing that they may have been on the podium with us, and I guess just acknowledging that fact as well. It sounds simple, but acknowledging those little wins. So it's not always about we used to have little awards. So we had trainer of the week, or we had a RAW award, so around our cultural piece, RAW award. So it was an off-field award that we would award, I think, every 3 to 4 weeks for someone who's done something off the field, that was positive, whether it was uni or whether, they organised someone's birthday present or little things like that we acknowledged. It wasn't just all about who made the team for the next tournament. It was all about having a real holistic approach, I guess, to it all.
That's great.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and look, we've touched on teamwork, but I actually want to ask about coaching and, coaching styles, because obviously as an elite athlete, you would have had different coaches with different coaching styles, just like in business, there's different leaders with different leadership styles. So as an elite athlete, are there any particular coaching methods or styles that you found that actually worked better for you?
Look, I would say I'm quite an adaptable person, and I can kind of adapt to any kind of environment I'm probably thrown into. But I think seeing others and seeing myself fit in with others and thrive in an environment where it is that real holistic approach. So I never saw myself as a rugby player. I was never just a rugby player. I was always Emilee Cherry, and I was always so proud that I grew up in Roma, and I loved my family, and I had uni to do as well, and I played rugby as well, and then I had my daughter, so I had all these other things in my life that I could kind of lean on or use to inspire me, I guess, and having that holistic approach from the program. Obviously the coach delivers that, but the program itself facilitates that holistic approach. And I guess I was so thankful that was kind of my experience through my Sevens career, was that we had a coach that was really facilitative of a holistic approach. So as I said, my best friends now were all the girls in that team, that I'm so thankful that, I've got friends for life, and we created these awesome experiences. But at the end of the day, they were my best friends, and I would still do anything and they'd do anything for me. So I guess creating not just athletes, not pumping out athletes to create results, but, we've always said that good people make good Sevens rugby players. And I can't think that that's more truthful in kind of the coaching style and the program style itself, focusing on the athlete as a whole and not just an athlete's physical abilities.
Yes.
Yeah.
What a great answer. What a great insight on that.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, we're talking about the holistic approach. And then I guess if we were to flip it the other way, Emilee, because obviously we would have had different coaches, are there any styles that particularly perhaps didn't work for you? I'll give you an example, in the leadership, one of my previous bosses, or that I reported to, was a very heavy micromanager. So it's something that now that I'm, own my own business, don't want to replicate. So it actually built me to show me what I didn't want to become. So if we were to flip it, was there anything in the instance that perhaps that didn't work for you?
Look, I've been quite lucky that I had one of, I think, the greatest coaches ever for a long period of time throughout my whole career. So I guess, I am grateful for that. But, other sporting, past that I've had and experiences as well in rugby, before or after him, I guess, just having the ability to be so open and feel like I was always heard and I was really valued within that. As I said before, I was really always across what my role was in the team, and I felt really valuable because I knew my role in the team. And I guess that underpins when I probably haven't bought in or felt as, connected within the team, was probably those times where I wasn't, I don't know if this is a bit dramatized, but I wasn't as valuable, didn't feel as valuable, or I was unsure of my role and my role towards the coach or my role towards the team. So, yeah, I guess that was probably it.
Yeah. And Gus, I don't remember which leader talk it was, but we really touched on this about someone, I don't remember what episode it was, but really understanding what your role and responsibility is as an employee. And
Yes,
how
100%.
important that is to the overall teamwork and success of a small or medium business owner. Because otherwise they're just interpreting something and not knowing how to get to the end result.
Yes, and many business fail on this because when we talk about role and responsibility, it's only as far as their job description. Now,
right.
People that look at the job description will never be a holistic team player because they don't actually really understand the benefit of their role to the whole team. And I think listening to Emilee, the great coach that bringing the whole team is able to make every individual understand the impact to the team itself. And I think businesses, leaders in business that have the ability to make sure whether you are the forklift driver, the receptionist, the general manager, operation manager, all know the impact to the whole organization, will have an advanced organization. That I totally agree with Emilee, and I'm just taking notes. Someone that can see a person as a holistic. Emilee Cherry from Roma, love her cereal is as important as Emilee Cherry that can do 1,000 burpees. Right, because you don't want to talk to Emilee about the burpees every single day. Sometimes we want to talk about cereal.
And I think what you mentioned before, Emilee, and it's important for all business owners out there to understand that your employee isn't just an employee. It's this whole holistic approach where they can also be a mother or a friend or a student, studying. There's so much more to a person. And it sounds like this holistic approach that was taken with you in elite sport was also very empowering and has allowed you to also build you to get to where you are. Would you agree with that, Emilee?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, everyone knows that you can't be a rugby player. We always used to say you can't play rugby for the rest of your life. And we wanted to create, as I said, good people. So when we left the program was in a better place, but we were also in a better place ourselves leaving the program. And I think, all the little work we used to do and focuses on our world outside of rugby, whether it was kind of creating that friendship group, even though it was with the team, but it was kind of outside that rugby setting, or focusing on what people were doing at uni or what TAFE course they wanted to do. And that was definitely a big part of it.
Emilee, I just saw a note from one of the respectful veterans, Sergeant Major Max Garcia. Used to be the Sergeant Major from U.S. Marine, now living in Sydney. This is what he said to you. I love how humble you are, Emilee. Giving credit to your team and the strong desire to give back speaks volume about your character despite your level of success. And I just want to say, through the screen, that's how we actually feel your energy. All your stories, like, you do not put sugarcoat anything. Like, you can say it, like I live in Sydney somewhere. You are very proud of where you come from. You are very proud the fact that your mom drives 6 hours. Like, you don't sugarcoat anything, to the extent, when we say, what's your favorite food after winning Olympic medals, I thought you will say something very, very, out there from Brazil or something, like cereal, right? Like, that's what you love. That's what you say. That's what you love. That's what you give to the world. Hey, I don't need to be the same like everyone else. I like this, and this is what I value. And I just want to share what Max said to you on the note. Like, it's fantastic.
Yeah, no, I guess I've been grateful to be able to be, I guess, so authentic in my life with the support I've had around me. They've always supported me no matter what I've kind of done. They've gone above and beyond. So, yeah, I guess I've had some incredible role models throughout my life, being my close family.
Yeah. And I'm looking at the time, Gus, so I'm going to have to hand it over to you to wrap up this episode of Leader Talk. Gus always does his summaries at the end.
Okay, Emilee, first I just would like to say thank you.
Oh, and it looks like we're having a technical issue.
Not to mention you have to run around to look after your daughter, and we wish you well with the upcoming baby that coming soon. So this is what I take. I write few notes that I really like and I think relevant for the business world. It's never gonna be easy, but it will be worth it. That's from your mom. It's never gonna be easy, but it will be worth it. It's never about the end goals. It's about looking at little wins and improvement. And I think this is so important for the business world, because if you just work on the end goals, it's become finite. And when I relate it to the book of Simon Sinek, The Infinite Mindset, and this is what he's talking about. If you just want to win the medals, what happened after winning the medals? The team will never become your best friends. And I love the way you keep saying, the team become my best friend. They will do everything for me equally. I do for them. And that's come from you. And your concept of it's never about the goals, it's about looking at the little win. And this is what I really love. And I think I learned as well on this. It's never about beating anyone else. It's about beating our best records. I mean, how incredible is that? If every day we can all wake up in business and say, forget about the competition for the time being, because many people in business always wake up and say, how can I beat them? Well, that's why we never beat them, because we always chase the tile. But if we always improve, we will win. Emilee Cherry, you are an outstanding guest for Leader Talk. You are an outstanding representation of Australia. You are an outstanding athlete, even though you are retired. But your energy, oh my God, it's just like, did you drink Broccas before this or something? Like, I mean, oh my God.
No coffees, no nothing. This is
coffee,
me.
no nothing. I tell you, you shouldn't drink any coffee, because your energy is just so powerful. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Can I just say, I can't even get that much energy, even drinking coffee or Barocca.
I must say my daughter's at daycare today, so I have a bit more energy than I usually have. She hasn't been running around my heels all day. But no, I appreciate the talk. And as you said, hopefully you got some insights of being a professional athlete and how that transfers into, creating successful businesses as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time, Emilee. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. For more information on Leader Talk or for some great insights to help your business grow, check out brainiact.com.au. Thanks, everyone. Bye.